non-rockabotus must stop. I don't want to rock the boat. I want to sink it.
Are you going to bark all day, little doggy, or are you going to bite?
We're being delusional. I love you, Jeff.
Delusional, yeah. Delusional is okay in your worldview. I'm an animal. You don't chastise chickens for being delusional. You don't chastise pigs for being delusional. So you calling me delusional using your worldview is perfectly okay. It doesn't really hurt. She hung up on me.
What?
Desperate times call for faithful men and not for careful men. The careful men come later and write the biographies of the faithful men, lauding them for their courage.
Go into all the world and make disciples. Not go into the world and make buddies. Not to make brosives.
Right.
Don't go into the world and make homies.
Right.
Disciples.
I got a bit of a jiggle neck. That's a joke, Pastor.
When we have the real message of truth, we cannot let somebody say they're speaking truth when they're not.
Take an amazing journey to a place that will blow your mind and move your heart so you will never be the same again.
I saw in the night visions, and behold, with the clouds of heaven there came one like a son of man. And he came up to the Ancient of Days and was presented before him. And to him was given dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom one that shall not be destroyed. That's Daniel 7:13 through 14, y'all. We're back. This is the gospel heard around the world. Apologia Radio. Welcome back, everybody. We were gone for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks for our mandatory sabbaticals, and we are back in the seat and ready to go. ApologiaStudios.com is where you can go to get more content. ApologiaStudios.com. Please do go check that out. You have tons of stuff there. You have all of our shows from Apologia Studio. We have Sheologians. We have Cultish. We've got Provoked, Apologia Radio. Hundreds and hundreds of radio shows and podcast episodes for your listening enjoyment and pleasure. ApologiaStudios.com. You can also sign up for All Access. When you sign up for All Access, you make every single thing that we do here as a ministry possible. So again, if you're benefiting from the on-the-street evangelism, if you're benefiting from the teaching, if you're benefiting from anything at Apologia Studios, it's because people just like you partner with us as a ministry. They partner with us in All Access. They get all the additional content, including Ask Me Anything, our monthly time where we get together with all of our All Access partners in ministry, and we sit and we talk. You guys can ask questions. It's a private feed. And so Ask Me Anything is available there too, including the after show, Apologia Academy. It's all up at apologiastudios.com. I want to say a big thank you to everybody who has been partnering with us for many years. Thank you. You make all that we do possible. Also, don't forget to sign up for your free Bahnsen U account. If you don't have one, you are missing out. It's a gift to Apologia from the Bahnsen family. All of Dr. Greg Bahnsen's life work, recordings, audio lectures, seminary lectures, all that stuff is going to be at apologiastudios.com with Bahnsen U. It is absolutely for free as a gift to you for the Bahnsen family. And at the same time, our All Access partners help to fund that. Because, as many people don't know, when you click even a free audio lecture with Bahnsen U, we're paying for it. We've got to pay for that. And so that happens because All Access. So thank you guys for you guys who are part of that with us. Lots to talk about today. Very excited about today's show. We're engaging some silliness, some craziness, but I want to thank you all. Also, if you haven't done so yet, go to apologiastudios.com. There are all kinds of nifty gifties there, and shirts and mugs and tracks and all kinds of cool stuff.
They do cost something, though. They're not.
Do we have throw pillows?
Free.
I
don't know. There might be on that.
The Sheologians website has an apron.
An apron. There you go.
How about spatulas?
No.
We should get some spatulas. I'm sure that we can engrave them. Something, yes. So you can also get tracks. We have some good tracks at apologiastudios.com. You have the What is the Good News of God? It's a gospel tract you can hand out to people. And we have the Gospel for Mormons tract. We have all kinds of tracts over there at Apollo. We got track, y'all. If you want track, we got track.
And just for the record, that's spelled TRACT.
Yes.
Not CK.
Yeah, that's right.
because people get confused on that.
Right.
Yes, that's right. Really?
It's one of those
Is that a
words.
thing?
Oh, all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So don't look up track. You might see people running. If you look up gospel track, you might see Christians running.
Why are people racing?
You'll see Christians running. Not a bad thing. Christians.
Can you think of...
I ran today.
I just mean... Like,
my running
going
days
on
are
a,
over.
Like giving someone the gospel while you're just like...
Yeah,
You just like run up to him.
Yeah. Gospel track. Running Christians. T. Use a T there when you get the... And apologiastudios.com. So that is Joy the Girl. I'm Jeff the Ninja. And that is Luke the Bear.
What is up? My running days are long gone.
Yeah?
I did enough of that in my old life.
I did the old running in high school. I'm done. Finished.
I did that.
You got them
in
football
college.
knees.
Yeah, I do.
I got
do
them.
actually. I do.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
You
Not
have
fun on the
them
knees.
track knees.
Yeah. Yeah.
With a CK.
I literally came back 10 pounds heavier from my sabbatical, so
Yeah, that happens.
I just ate for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But
I mean, makes sense.
yeah,
You're in the Midwest.
that's true.
Rest
Food's
and eat.
different.
That's what you need. Rest and eat.
Rest and eat.
Good for pastors to stop for a little bit and rest and eat.
Bad for knees.
Bad for the knees.
Good for
Bad for the
resting.
belly.
But I do want to mention that our friends at the Armored Republic are hiring. They wanted us to let everyone know that.
Nice.
So, another fun fact from the Armored Republic: the famous first battles of the American War for Independence. See, they said it right. They said it right. They didn't
The
say
War
the
for Independence.
They didn't say the Revolutionary War.
mhm.
Yeah.
Good on you, Armored Republic.
War of Independence.
The battles of Lexington and Concord have an important piece of history behind them. They were fought to resist the British taking away guns and ammunition from Americans living in those areas. And I can't help but think of old crazy what's-his-face. 1776 will commence again.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Yeah. Firearms are the first and primary tool of liberty, but a growing number of freemen are realizing that firearms are only the beginning. The next most important tool of liberty is body armor, a defensive tool of liberty to match the offensive capabilities of guns. This is where Armored Republic comes in, and Armored Republic, previously known as AR-500 Armor, equips the free men of America with the tools of liberty that are necessary to defend the God-given rights to the honor of Christ the King. Man, I love these guys. We're reaching out to you because we need more hands at the plow. I'm reaching out to you for them. The Armored Republic is looking for more nearby Christians, that would be in the Phoenix area, to take up opportunities in operations, marketing, sales, customer service, and elsewhere. Our workplace culture is built on 14 values that reflect the 10 Commandments and the rest of the wisdom communicated throughout Scripture. We work to be aggressively Christian in all parts of the business, and we work to consistently
Christian.
reward good stewards. Did you know, I'm not quite done yet, but did you know when Roe was overturned, they gave everyone the day off? And they gave all of their employees the entire week of the 4th of July off.
No way.
Isn't that crazy?
I like that.
Yeah, they're
that's
awesome.
that's being aggressively Christian
That
right
is
there.
aggressively Christian.
How can we be aggressively Christian? Say, hey, you're all free. Go home. Go home.
If you're interested in helping armed free men in America to resist tyranny, check out the career pages on our website at ar500armor.com/careers.
Nice. We love
That
those
is
guys.
aggressive.
And I will say, I mean, there's a lot of talk about free men there, but I think we are very complementarian in our belief about guns. We would like you to have some guns and body armor as well.
Oh, look, we even got
And-
the logo up now. Good job, guys.
We're
That's great.
complementarian when it comes to body armor and guns here at Apologia, just so you know.
Yeah.
It's not just free men that need the tools of liberty, it's the women as well.
It's true.
Sometimes
It's-
especially.
Yeah, no,
Women.
for real.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need a tent peg to drive through a man's skull. It's just the way things are.
It's just the way things
It's
are.
just, that's righteous. Tent pegs, men's
It's
heads,
just the way it is.
Frying pan to the head.
spatulas. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Apologia Radio. Again, this is the Gospel Heard Around the World. We are glad you guys joined us. Thank you to everybody who is watching us in the live feed right now. Thank you guys for putting up with a 2-week break from Apologia Radio, but we definitely needed it, and we're back and we're ready to go. A little bit heavier, a little bit heavier, a lot of bit happier.
Well, and just to clarify, I did not go on a sabbatical because I am not a pastor.
No lady pastors here.
In
No.
case this is your first time watching.
State the obvious. It's almost like, did you guys see that crazy video? Did you see the crazy? Hold on, I gotta find it. I have to do it. I have to find it.
I think I know what you're talking about.
What is happening in our world right now? Did I say world? It's been a long 2 weeks.
Whoa.
Joy, did you enjoy your time off from us? I think that came out weird.
I feel like it would be offensive to say yes, very much.
And just for the record, Joy did not come back heavier. I did.
No, come on. I just hate when they do this with these.
I wonder if it.
I wonder if Armored Republic can create like a bulletproof frying pan. You could just carry with you at all times.
Keep up the conversation.
If you have a cast iron pan, I feel like
would do
that
something.
could be pretty.
Yeah.
It depends on the gun, probably, but
may not have the right coating. But I mean, I'll have to bring that up to them in there. I don't know if they have like a box where you can put in suggestions.
Right.
Also known as a suggestion box.
A box where you put in suggestions.
My sister used to.
It's a lengthy way of getting it across.
My sister used to take me to this. I don't even know if they still have them, but this sub shop, and my brother worked there.
Submachine gun shop.
We go visit them. No, actually, not related in that way. Related in the suggestion box way, but we would always put "Don't eat yellow snow" in the suggestion box. So
did they
hopefully
ever
my brother
Very
opened
good
that
advice.
and not some other poor person who had to.
Okay, so I found it. I think sometimes I'm thinking some of these platforms actually hide the videos.
My gosh.
They hide the videos.
Oh yeah.
They hide the videos that are like damaging to the left and their leadership. Like they're hard to find. It's like these videos are out there, and this is like a viral video. Why is it so hard for me to find this right now? I think sometimes I've been like, I can't find that video, and I should be able to find it.
We should start introducing ourselves like this.
Yeah. What
you're about to play.
Oh yeah. By the way, welcome everybody to Apologia. My name is Jeff. Pronouns are he and him, and I'm wearing tattoos and a grayish shirt right now.
Most importantly, though, are you white?
I'm a white cis male.
You look tan though.
Yeah,
you look tan now.
Just
got back from that sabbatical.
You got that? Yeah. Nothing really to do except just walk around and be in the sun. Yeah,
I
and
didn't
eat
get
food.
tan,
And eat
fat.
food.
Well, you were in the Midwest.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Was the
So
sun
this is
even
the
out?
video. It took us 10 minutes to introduce because we couldn't find it. This is crazy, stating the obvious. What is happening in our world?
Good afternoon. I want to welcome these leaders for coming in to have this very important discussion about some of the most pressing issues of our time. I am Kamala Harris. My pronouns are she and her. I am a woman sitting at the table wearing a blue suit.
I was going to say, does it say she, her underneath on the nameplate? What does that say? There's like a little tiny message underneath.
I can't.
It may say that, yeah.
I can't see it.
Because I feel like it would be offensive if it didn't.
I'd like her to define what a woman is.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I want
She
her to
said
do.
she's a woman. So
A person who wears blue suits.
Do you know? By the way, she's not the only one. I watched a little bit more of this. She's not the only one that did it. They all did it at the table. They all did it. They all said
Why?
who they were, the gender. They said their pronouns, and then they said what they were wearing.
Why?
But here's what's so.
They're inhaling all their own breath. It's a weird delusional disorder.
And they're wearing masks. And so here's what's so interesting too. And just think about the complicated nature of this depravity and insanity, and how sin corrupts your reasoning processes. The noetic effect of sin corrupting even your reasoning processes. So I don't know, I can't really understand, because there is no rational, there's no rational justification for this that makes any sense outside of this madness. But when she says, I'm Kamala Harris, I'm a woman, it's she and her, and I'm wearing a blue suit, and then everyone follows along, it's like, why? It's like, well, we want to identify everything that's in front of everybody. Okay, so objectivity matters all of a sudden?
Right.
Like when you say, and just so everyone knows, I am wearing a blue suit. Like what you see in front of you is blue. I am wearing a suit and it is blue, right? So what's the point of defining your pronouns, because they are saying that you aren't necessarily what appears, right? They're saying in their worldview, no, just because you think you see a woman in front of you, and just because there are lady bits, doesn't mean that I'm actually a woman. I identify as something different. So think about the madness, the complicated nature of their reasoning processes. They're saying, I want to identify what people see in front of them. So what I have is a red suit, a red tie, a blue suit. What you see in front of you is what I have on. I'll identify with what's objectively true. It's a suit. Okay, does that count for gender? Does it count for gender or no? Like, why are you even identifying blue suit? Why can't she say, why can't Kamala Harris say, with her worldview, what she's adopted, why can't she say, I'm Kamala Harris, I'm an ant, my pronouns are shim-shim, shimmy-doo, and she's wearing a blue suit, and she's saying, and I am wearing a purple striped dress. Why can't she say that? Like, why are you identifying blue suit as though objectivity mattered in your worldview? That's what's so maddening about where we're at right now. And I just feel like the world, when sin corrupts your mind like this, it's like the world is run by adolescents.
Imbeciles.
Adolescents. Like, and that's actually one of the judgments of God. Not only is it women ruling over a nation, but also putting youths, immature, unwise people over a nation. As John Calvin said, when God wants to judge a nation, he puts these kinds of people in charge. It's judgment.
Right.
This is judgment. You have a Kamala Harris in one of the highest offices of our country, and she has the mental capacity.
I heard she's the first ant vice president.
Why not? Why not? I mean, hi, I am Kamala. I am a member of the furry tribe. I mean, like, furry is a thing, too. It's a movement.
It is a thing.
It's a thing.
Furry is a movement. People identifying as animals, loving to dress like animals.
Just when you thought pedophilia was weird.
Yeah. People
Then
dressing
they
like
decided
people
to be
dressing up
furries.
as animals and then fornicating with each other is a big thing right now as well. It's just it's that blurring of the image of God. It's taking what God created, identified as image of God, and it's morphing it into something else. Like gender is one of those things. Like gender today, like bending gender. You're not really a man. You're not really a woman. You can be whatever you like. And even things like the furry movement, same situation. It's the same thing. It's trying to blur the image of God. You're not really human. You're not really image of God. You can be an animal. And then they start actually going into more grotesque things by dressing like animals and doing all kinds of crazy things. And so it's all a blurring of the image of God. It's madness.
I mean, if someone would have showed up at that meeting butt naked and they're like, oh, you need to have clothes on. Oh, I'm wearing a blue suit.
Identify as a suit.
No, you're not. Oh, you're naked. Well, it's my nakedness identifying as a blue suit.
It's my birthday suit.
Right? Yeah. It's like a great SNL skit. It like pans to somebody like, all right, my name's Bob. My pronouns are he and him, and I'm wearing my birthday suit.
Oh man, that's good. That would actually work really well. We'll have to keep that in mind for any of the projects we do. All right. So anyway, getting to what we're talking about, I titled the show today, "Your Line of Questioning is Transphobic," because it's a hot video right now out from questioning Berkeley law professor. I want to make sure I say her name correctly. I don't know if it's Kiara or Kiara Bridges. She's a law professor, Berkeley. You would think that means something, being a law professor at Berkeley. You would hope that would mean something in terms of someone's ability to reason, to be cogent in their reasoning. One would hope. But we're not living in that world. We're living in a world of identifying the color of suit that you're wearing in a meeting. So strange. But this is a important video right now, I think, it's because of what it teaches us about the moment we're in culturally. So this is, make sure I get their names right here. So it's this Berkeley law professor, and it's Senator Josh Hawley. And this is, some of you guys probably already seen this, but it's good to review. You guys let me know when you want to stop. Here we go.
Professor Bridges, you said several times, you've used a phrase, I want to make sure I understand what you mean by it. You've referred to people with a capacity for pregnancy. Would that be women?
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy. There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
So this isn't really a women's rights issue.
We can recognize that this impacts women while also recognizing that it impacts other groups. Those things are not mutually exclusive, Senator Hawley.
Oh, so your view is that the core of this right then is about what?
So I want to recognize that your line of questioning is transphobic.
Huh? What? What?
I don't even.
It's transphobic? He just asked, are you talking about women? And then she blurs the line. So it's always this manipulation of language, right? So it's, many cis women. Now, cisgendered means that you identify as the gender that you actually are. Let's just call it what it is. So in other words, I'm saying I'm a man because I'm identifying with the parts that I have and the biological makeup that makes me a man. That's cisgender. That's what it means. So many cisgendered women can be pregnant, and many cisgendered women can't be pregnant. But here's the thing. Are you ready? Are you ready? Only women can get pregnant. That was the question being asked. Are you talking about women?
Right.
And so she tries to smokescreen by saying, identifying a problem because of the fall. Many cisgendered women, in other words, many women can get pregnant, and many women can't get pregnant. Well, that wasn't the question being asked. The question being asked is, what kind of human being gets pregnant? It's a woman.
Yeah.
Right? It's a woman that gets pregnant. And so smokescreen comes up, and you bring up the issue of, well, some cis women can't get pregnant, but they're still women, right? And only women can actually get pregnant, right? And then she brings up, of course, the other issue of like transgendered men and everything else. But he asked the simple question, like, you're talking about women. When you talk about a person that can get pregnant, you're talking about a woman, right? All he's doing is asking that question. And then she turns it into, you're being transphobic. Transphobic because you asked the question about what is biologically true in this world?
There's a specific term for that. I think that C.S. Lewis came up with it, but it's basically when you don't respond to their argument, you bypass the argument and you attack what you presume their opinion, you attack their motive as to why
they're asking the question.
Yeah, right. So that's that. Man, I wish it's like bluevism or something like that. But yeah, so yeah, it's a logical fallacy where you go to the person's motive and not actually what they said, and their motive is something that you're assuming, because unless they tell you what their motive is, you don't actually know. So she's not actually having a conversation with him. She is assuming that because of his position politically, because
he thinks women
maybe how he looks,
he thinks it's women who can get pregnant.
And then the obvious statement where he thinks that women can only get pregnant.
So let's go back a second just to examine what she says here. I'll do that again.
Do not have the capacity for pregnancy. There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of.
And let's dissect it, right? Let's challenge it. When you say trans men and non-binary persons who can get pregnant, what are you referring to biologically? What is that trans man and that non-binary person? What are they actually? What are they actually? Right? They are biological females. Because men have penises, women have vaginas, there is sperm, there is egg, there is all of that. There's a womb only in one kind that comes down in our biological species, and that is women. I hate to announce the obvious, like the fact that I'm wearing a gray shirt, or that someone might have a red shirt on, or a Soli Deo Gloria shirt on. It's weird to have to announce the obvious, isn't it? Isn't it so strange that we live in a time where you have to announce the obvious, like the color of suit you're wearing? Like announcing the obvious that when you say trans men and non-binary persons, what you're really referring to, outside of that language and manipulation of language, is what you're really referring to is a female. It is a woman, it's a female of the human species, biologically female. Only they have wombs. And if a woman dresses up like a man, her blue suit is only covering the womb that she has. She's the one with the womb. And she can call herself a man, trans man, all she wants, but what is she actually biologically down to the objective, what's in front of me? It's a woman. It's a woman. But where she goes is interesting here. And again, this is a Berkeley law professor.
Let's see.
So this isn't really a women's rights issue.
We can recognize that this impacts women while also recognizing that it impacts other groups. Those things are not mutually exclusive, Senator Hawley.
Oh, so your view is
so
that the core of
condescending.
this right then is about what?
So I want to recognize that your line of questioning is transphobic, and it opens up trans people to violence by not recognizing them.
Wow, you're saying that I'm opening up people to violence by asking whether or not women are the folks who can have pregnancies?
So I want to note that 1 out of 5 transgender persons have attempted suicide. So I think it's important
Because of
for
my
us-
line of questioning? So
Because-
we can't talk about it?
Because denying that trans people exist and pretending not to know that they exist
I'm
is
denying that trans
dangerous.
people exist by asking
Are you?
if you're
Are
talking
you?
about women
Are you?
having pregnancies.
Do you believe that men can get pregnant?
No, I don't think women can
So
get
you are
pregnant.
denying that trans people exist?
She's a law professor?
Wow.
So
Just so you know, that's not why transgender people kill themselves.
Right.
That's not why. It's us having a conversation about
Right.
people that are confused and wicked and lost is not why, and you not acknowledging someone as a person is not why anyone commits suicide.
Right, and asking if it's only biological females that can get pregnant is not denying the existence
Right.
of a person
Right,
who
exactly.
says that they're trans. So that's the problem. This is a Berkeley law professor, and she doesn't understand argument, language, logic enough to take the question, isn't it only women that can get pregnant? And to turn that into, you're denying trans people exist. No. There's all kinds of people that claim to be trans.
Yeah.
I'm not denying their existence. I'm asking a biological question. Isn't it only women that have wombs?
Guess what? That line of reasoning she just did isn't going to work in a court of law.
No.
That's for sure.
No.
So you see that
man.
she's redefining woman as, what did she say, a person capable of becoming pregnant or something like that. That's what they're redefining it as now. And as I'm watching this, I just can't help but think that this is a result of feminism ultimately. You know, feminists came in years ago and they wanted to redefine stuff, and so now this is the result of, you know, not having Christ. It's chaos, and so it's coming full circle. And so, like, I mean, as a woman, Joy, this has to be completely offensive to you when people they won't even answer. They won't even give you a definition. I know we're going to watch more of that, but they won't even give you a definition of what a woman is. And so so now just being a woman is it's like being a white cisgender male. Like, you know, like you can't even
Christ
define
or
that.
chaos.
Yeah.
Christ or chaos.
Yeah, it's just it. Well, yeah, it's this weird like hyper celebration of women to the point where they can kill their own children, but also woman is a social construct,
Right.
that doctors define when you're born, or I don't know.
Well,
geneticists.
Yeah.
They trust geneticists so much, except for when it comes to this
Works
very
against their
simple
worldview. Yeah.
topic.
Yeah, it really is an incredible thing because you can see them constantly shifting positions, right? Like
Yeah.
you see that with image bearers of God, regardless. Atheists will claim atheism, that there's no purpose, no meaning,
Right.
and it's all chaos, time and chance, acting on matter, sound and fury, signifying nothing. And then they have to live in the world in a different way, constantly borrowing from the Christian worldview day by day by day. They have to. They can't live in the world that they say is the case. They have to live in the Christian world and borrow Christian principles and borrow capital from God constantly. And in this case, you see it with the left constantly, where they'll say being a woman is nothing. It's fluid. It can be whatever you want. You could just claim to be it. What is a woman? Well, we really don't know. And then when it comes down to something like, you know, Roe versus Wade being overturned, then they say, what are you doing to women?
Yeah, exactly.
What are you doing to women? And then they start to pull on the heartstrings that
Yeah.
every one of us has instinctively, and that's protect this person next to me. She's the woman. Every man has that instinct as image bearer of God. Protect the woman. Protect the woman. Guard the woman. Like, you know, treat her as the weaker vessel. Like that's inside all of us. And so they borrow from that natural, God-given, divinely inspired instinct in men, and that's to protect women, guard women. You have to. And they use that only when it's convenient for them.
Yeah.
Because they say being a woman is meaningless. I don't even know what it is. It doesn't matter at all. But then when something like this comes up that will go against their system and their injustices, then they say, oh, look what you're doing to women. Everyone has to see it. It's just madness. Yeah. It's absolutely madness. And this is a Berkeley law professor, who can't understand language and definitions and logic and argument enough. And why? The question has to be asked, why is a person like this heralded in our society as somebody that we should be actually listening to? This is a minute and a half long clip, and she can't hold together an argument for a minute and a half. And she's a law professor. She's teaching people law. It gets worse. You're going to see in a moment. It'll get worse in a different clip. But let's see if there's more here.
That leads to violence. Is this how you run your classroom? Are students allowed to question you,
Absolutely.
or are they also treated like this, where
No,
they're told that they're opening up people to violence?
We have a good time in my class. You should join.
I bet.
You might learn a lot.
Wow, I would learn a lot. I've learned a lot just in this exchange.
Absolutely.
Extraordinary.
Yep.
Yikes. Woo, that last part was intense, wasn't it?
She's got crazy eyes, too.
Did you feel that?
She's like,
Did you feel it?
Yeah.
That's intense. That was intense. But yeah, and it's a good thing for him, I think, to point out is just that, like, what you're saying doesn't make any sense. But do you treat people like this in your classroom? Like, this is abusive. Like, we can't just have a rational engagement and discussion. I can't ask you questions about your worldview without, being accused of being transphobic and putting people's lives in danger for asking the question as to whether or not it's women who have the wombs. Can I ask that question in today's world? It's like, flip it. Like, right, answer the fool according to their folly. Answer the fool according to their folly. Why can't I say, when she says that, like, men can get pregnant, right? Trans men can get pregnant, cisgender people can get pregnant. Why can't I say, I just want to point out that your words right now, your line of questioning and your claims are a bit Christophobic, right? It's Christian-phobic. And I feel like you're inciting feelings of persecution that I and my brothers and sisters in Christ worldwide are going to feel based upon your worldview. You're making claims about men getting pregnant that honestly make me feel a sense of persecution, and I might go and hurt myself because of it. You might put me into a state of depression because, well, actually you do. I'll be honest. This stuff makes me very sad. I get very depressed when I hear this stuff. But, like, why can't I say it back? Like, I mean, aren't we going to start recognizing that, like, oh, we're being children? Like, we haven't graduated from third grade, apparently. When I can ask a question, a question that has to do with objectivity, genetics, biology, like I can't ask the question without being threatened with you're putting people's lives in danger. I mean, can't we just keep doing that back and forth to each other? Like, well, your line of questioning is making me feel really sad. And, you're going to ruin my week. And I just want to let you know you're Christophobic.
Well, that's when they have to slam down the whole privilege. Their belief is that Christianity and its tenets are what created a lot of the systemic oppression. And that's why we're trying to move away from it. Just to further the delusion. They still have no coherent, they can say all that, and they still have no coherent way to organize any of their thoughts or knowledge claims. But that's just how they're deluding themselves. They just would say, well, I don't have to listen to you, Mr. White male politician who probably makes X amount of dollars every year, because you're a part of the system that wants to keep women down. So why would I listen to you? You're not a credible source of information. I'm a credible source of information. And there you go. Gaslighting 101. Did you guys learn anything?
That's funny. That's about exactly what she's going to say in the next clip.
All right, here we go. So next clip. This is more along the question here, not on gender, but on the pro-choice and pro-abort position. And this is a little lengthier, so we'll have a little more to interact with here.
Senator Cornyn. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Professor Bridges, you, in your testimony, talked about the prevalence of abortion, the percentage of black babies that are aborted as opposed to non-black babies. I think you said 3 or 4 times more black babies than non-black babies are aborted. You also talk about systemic racism. Do you see any systemic racism associated with the prevalence of abortion for black babies as opposed to non-black babies?
Absolutely. The higher rates of unintended pregnancy that lead to higher abortion rates among black people is a result of structural racism, systemic racism. I understand systemic racism not to be boogeymen who are...
Wait. He asked a question about the rates of black babies being killed, which is absolutely right. Far more black.
Yes.
It's black genocide is what it is. Wiping out the black population among us. Killing our black brothers and sisters, image bearers of God, far more.
That was the original intent.
That was the original intent. Thank you, Margaret Sanger. And so talking about systemic racism is something like Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood. That is systemic racism because she was a racist and she specifically wanted to wipe out the black population. And so talk about systemic racism. It's the people that you're supporting. It's the organizations. They started that. And
she called them dysgenic stock. That's what she called them.
Oh, yeah.
Poor people, black people.
Yeah.
She, I have a quote from her here. She wanted to apply a stern and rigid policy of sterilization and segregation to that grade of population whose progeny is already tainted, or whose inheritance is such that objectionable traits may be transmitted to the offspring. She was a eugenicist, and she believed everything that the Nazis believed.
Yep.
If you don't believe me, you can read Mein Kampf.
She was BFFs with those guys.
I mean, if there is any provable systemic racism in our country right now, it is abortion. Absolutely.
Oh,
100%.
For sure. And but the question being asked is the rate of black babies being killed over against other kinds of human beings,
right?
Whether it's white, whether it's Asian, whether it's Latino, whatever. And she then moves to try to suggest that the issue of unintended pregnancies in black communities are the result of systemic racism and racist issues. Wait a second. The issue of unintended pregnancies is actually a moral issue within any tribe. I'm going to use biblical terminology. Tribes, right? We're all from one mom and dad, and there's different tribes. You got white tribes, black tribes. You got all kinds of different tribes, like biblical language tribes. We're all from the same mom and dad. All of us are related. We're all image of God. We all go back to the same parents, okay? So we're just different tribes of human beings around the world. And she's suggesting here that the issue of more black babies being killed is the issue of some sort of racial issue related to black people that causes them to have more unintended pregnancies. And you've got issues of poverty. No, I'm sorry. The issue of unintended pregnancies is a moral issue. It's an issue of fornication. And if you have a group of people who are getting pregnant and then killing their children, and you move it back and back and back and back, you're talking about the issue of sex outside of marriage. That's really the issue. And so the question really has to go down to, wait, are you suggesting that black people, because this is what she's saying, are you suggesting that black people have sex before marriage at higher rates because of poverty and racism? Is that how you handle sexual morality? By claiming it's because of poverty and racism or systemic racism, people having sex as black people more with unintended pregnancies because of racism? No, it's a moral issue. I would actually say this. I would look more, whether it's a black group, a black population, a white population, an Asian population, whatever kind of population, and you're saying there's some real issues of morality here where people are like not like being married and committed together to have children, they're having children, they're killing their children. I would say, let's check out the culture. Let's check out the culture going on. Like if we're saying like white people do this, I would say, let's take a look at white culture and let's see like what would be happening in white culture to create that kind of environment.
Well, especially with something so specific. There is only one act that creates a child. It would be very easy to actually get some legitimate statistics.
Oh, for
You'd
sure.
have to have willing participants, but you could actually This is an investigation you could actually have if anyone was interested in telling people they shouldn't have sex outside of marriage.
Yeah, it's not wrong to look into the white community, white population, and ask questions culturally to say, like, well, what's going on there with, like, moral issues? And, like, where could that come from? Like, what's the instigator that creates that situation, right? And it's not wrong to look in a black community and say, okay, well, what's creating it within your community? Like, what's the worldview? What's the belief system? How is it happening? And look, it's just known. We understand this. We got black brothers and sisters, solid pastors and others, leaders, who point this out to us. They're white brothers and sisters and say, we've got a problem with fatherlessness in the black community.
Yes.
We got a problem with fatherlessness. And so, like, I just had a conversation. In the last week as a father, I've had 3 conversations, just spiritual conversations with family and with others, young, like teenagers, talking about faithfulness, fidelity, and talking about, like, sex before marriage and why God calls us to not live that way. Like, that's what I do as a father. That's what I do in my community, as I promote the way that God made the world and made us and why it's so beautiful in this way. And it's such a gift and why you have to protect that and preserve that and don't have sex outside of marriage. I just had that conversation at 6 o'clock last night with a young guy. That's what happened in my community. And my community is not a white community. Our church is blended, right? But that's what fathers do, and that's what leaders, men who are leaders, do. They preach that stuff. If you got a problem with fatherlessness in the black community, probably the reason that there's a moral problem of sexual immorality in any group is that there's no fathers and men leading that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when you look at the situation, you got all these unintended pregnancies. It's like, it's a moral question. I'd be looking more into WAP. Right?
Yes.
Is it wrong to suggest that? If the culture and music and environment being promoted is about sex and WAP and all the other things and money and drugs and all the rest, if that's what you're feeding to your population, is it any surprise that people are, like, actually living according to it? Like, living according to, we can just have sex, and this is, and it's okay to have sex and have babies and not have a father in the home and to not be connected and to not have a unit. Like, I'd be looking more at things like that rather than systemic racism and poverty as the reason why people are having sex. Like, people are having sex and having babies because of systemic racism and poverty and those sorts of things. Really? The numbers of our black brothers and sisters who are slaughtered in the womb are so much higher in the black community. And I would say push it back a bit. Like, maybe look at the person who originated this stuff in the United States of America, made it popular. Let's look at Margaret Sanger and see what she was up to. And let's see if that has any effect. Hey, why don't we do something here? Why don't we actually take a look across the landscape and ask the question, where are the majority of these Planned Parenthoods and abortion facilities located? Where are they located?
Yep.
Guess what? They're located where their business is. They're located really close to dormitories, college campuses, female dormitories. They're located close to college campuses because sex outside of marriage is rampant, and you're going to have babies, and people are going to kill their babies. And hey, weird, oddly, strange, we've got a bunch of Planned Parenthoods and abortion facilities that are located smack dab right in the middle of black communities. Hey, that makes sense. That's precisely the dream of Margaret Sanger.
Well, and she was not quiet about her convictions either. So, while what you're saying is funny, she actually said the whole point of she said what this woman who is an accidental eugenicist said, which is that this is the argument. If you can't provide for your child, you should kill them.
Yeah.
Meaning we can't keep this system going because people will be too poor. They won't be able to feed their kids. We can't keep this system of poverty in action. The only thing is that Margaret Sanger wanted to end impoverished groups of people by killing them.
Yeah.
Kill the poor people.
And this is exactly what we're doing. Yeah. She's saying that due to systemic racism, black women have more of a reason to kill their children. And Margaret Sanger said, Black and poor people have more of a reason to kill
Yes.
their children
Right.
Exactly.
because they're dysgenic stock.
Very good. There is the talking point. Passed along a generation later by a black woman, by a beautiful black woman.
Yeah.
Passed along, coming out of her mouth. That's her system.
Yes.
Wow. All right, here we go.
Trying to dupe Black people into abortion care. I understand structural racism to be the systems that have made it so that Black people disproportionately bear the burdens of poverty in this country, the systems that have denied them the basics that they need in order to live humane lives, like food, clothing, shelter, health care.
So you believe
a system that responds with the criminal
you believe
legal
there ought
system.
to be more black babies aborted, is that right?
I believe that we ought to create the conditions under which people can lead lives that are filled with dignity and humanity.
That's precisely what you pointed out. Nailed it. You really did.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
Hey,
'Cause
did
that
you
was
watch this
that was the
clip?
principled position of Margaret Sanger. Exactly that. We can't have
Yes.
people growing up in poverty, so kill them.
Right.
And that's precisely the principle she's adopted.
That is we're doing it in the name this is how well the delusion's going. We're doing it in the name of virtue.
Right. It's virtuous because you kill. You don't want them in poverty,
This
so
is
kill
what
them.
Margaret Sanger, she didn't have nearly as much traction when she was into all her other crazy stuff, like being against charity, which she was also against.
Yeah.
She changed because she wasn't gaining traction, and she was in exile in the UK, and she changed because people weren't receptive to her very controversial beliefs, and so she just toned them down a little bit.
That's why she said things like, "We don't want the word to get out."
Yeah.
Like she said things like in letters, like, "We don't want the word to get out that we're trying to exterminate the black
Yes.
population." Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, she had to tone it down.
And so so here she, I mean, this is on multiple levels Margaret Sanger's dream come to fruition. She was a wicked woman that wanted people to look at evil and say, that's good. And here we are.
Yeah. I was just going to say, notice that she, in order to answer his question, it's, well, because there's not enough socialism.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
and
Like
that's
we're going to
what-
solve the problem of killing
That's
babies
what
by
Margaret Sanger came up with.
Right.
She was like,
Yeah.
let's go a little more socialism.
Yeah.
But the whole intention behind her socialism was to segregate undesirables. And then so much easier to deal with an undesirable population if you know who they all are, and then you know where to send the sterilization clinics,
Like
and
Jews, for example.
Right. There's a reason these two groups of people look so very similar.
Yeah.
And down to the same followers of the same people. We're not just saying like their principles, we're finding a correlation between their principles. Like, no, they were educated by
They
the
hung out
same
together. Yeah.
people.
Yeah, and when you suggest that we can take down the number of abortions or stop the level of abortions that are happening by creating an environment where people actually can flourish and not be poor. Again, just like Joy said, the real principle there is kill the poor people, because why not? I mean, it's better life by not having a life because you're in poverty. So
Well, and that's just so you guys know, that's a totally disproven economic philosophy. There was a guy, I think Malthus, I had a weird last name, Malthus, but he thought that like production of goods and resources wouldn't be able to keep up with the rising amount of the population, which we also believe. I mean, it's been totally disproven economically, because what always happens whenever there's more population, there's always more innovation.
Yeah.
There's more people creating and growing and
More
producing.
jobs.
exactly.
And so it's been disproven, and yet it's written all over our culture. He said enough for us to just tuck it away and be like, oh, we'll live by that forever.
Right. Yeah. Exactly right. How many Einsteins and Newtons and Teslas have we killed? Right?
Yeah, seriously,
all in
you
the
wanna
name
talk
of
about climate change.
all in the name of virtue.
Environmentalism. You're talking. People's automatic assumption is that overpopulation is the problem, and it's like undeniably we have changed the environment of this planet. But I don't necessarily think it's going to be going back to the 1950s to get our planet back. There is probably innovation or discovery of new resources. There's all of that kind of stuff, and we slaughtered millions we slaughtered an unimaginable amount of people.
Well over 62
because
million.
we thought there shouldn't be more people.
Right.
And that just all the only reason you would never read the Bible and think we should stop.
Right.
There should be no more people. It's
and it typically
unbiblical.
tends to be also, you look at liberals who live in coastal cities, in cities. They live in a city that's crowded, people everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They tend to think like there's no more space in the world. There's just
Have
no
you
more
been to
room. There's
Arizona
people everywhere. It's
or
like, have you
Texas?
driven through Texas?
Yeah.
Or Oklahoma? Or have you driven through Arizona? Yeah. No, you think that way because you live in a coastal city. You live on the high end of life, but you see people everywhere, and it seems super crowded because of your lifestyle. That's what you've chosen. That's where you live.
There is a little town in Canada that is basically like our highest up in North America. It's as close as we get to the North Pole in terms of like people living.
Mm-hmm.
And there are major cities in Russia where people live at the same distance from the North Pole.
Oh yeah.
We don't think there's
Those people are tough.
I mean, yeah, I'm
They're
not
tough.
saying like
That's a good,
they're not eating,
not living a good life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
But there's a lot of space.
We got space.
And all the pragmatism aside, there you're not going to get anything from the Bible about population control.
Nope.
About
and we're actually in the problem area at this point in this generation globally. In the U.S., Japan is, I don't know how they're going to pull themselves out of this situation in terms of not producing the amount of children necessary to move your culture, your people into the next generation. Japanese people, lack of having children, their birth rates are so low that statistically speaking, like a generation or two, they're going to be out of existence if they keep that up. I mean, they got to work hard to get themselves out of this situation. Our birth rates are low. Globally, birth rates are very, very low, and the issue of abortion is a big issue. And so we're actually not in the problem of overpopulation. We're in the problem of underpopulation, and we're not producing enough children to actually getting on to the next generation. There are subcategories of humans and others in this world, like Muslims, who are having large amounts of children, large families. They're not doing bad because of their religious system that doesn't, see children in the family like that as a curse. And so we do. But just real fast, the issue of she thinks that she can solve, as a law professor now, someone who's supposed to be good at reasoning, good at definitions, all of that, cogent thinker, coherent, all that stuff. She thinks that if you can create the social benefits for people, in other words, like Luke said, socialism, if we can create that, then people aren't going to be having unintended pregnancies and killing their children. How many rich white people do we see killing their children? Lots of them. I mean, we've been doing abortion ministry for years, and I'll tell you the truth. I mean, the people are pulling up, by and large, many of them driving nice cars, and they're doing fine. And they're, a lot of white people.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, in Arizona, where we live, very few black people on a daily basis going into the abortion facilities. What do we see mostly? White people.
White college students.
White people. I see white people. And, I see I know plenty of well-to-do white people that have killed I know well-to-do rich white people who have had 3-4 abortions. How's that work for them? No systemic racism on their part, right? And they're not in poverty, and they're still having unintended pregnancies, and they're still killing their children. Now, people don't kill their children because of that. We're not giving enough money to people. And by the way, you don't solve the problem that she's referring to. You don't solve it by, again, government handouts. Like, okay, if a person, it doesn't matter what color they are, white, black, Asian, doesn't make a difference what color they are. If their worldview, their mindset is, I don't want to work, I don't want to create, I don't want to feel any pain, I don't want to be stressed, I just want to, smoke weed and drink all day. That happens across cultures. It doesn't matter. Not black, white. It's everywhere, right? If someone's mindset is that, I do not want to work for what I receive, I just want it handed to me. If that's how they are, like that's their poverty lifestyle, they don't have any drive or ambition or discipline or perseverance or creativity. If they're not like that, then when you give them, if they are like that and you give them a check, and say, well, I'll pay for all your needs. I'll pay for your home, pay for all your food and everything else. Like, you don't solve the problem of their lack of ambition and their lack of discipline by handing them more money.
Well, and the point of
it's a hard issue.
The point of the early socialists was to create control over a population.
That's the point. Socialism is not about fixing a problem.
Get rid of them.
Yeah.
So that they could get rid of them, not so that they could take care of them.
Yeah.
So that they could exterminate them.
The anti-Christian worldview of the socialists is not going to solve any problems. It doesn't solve the problem of the heart. It doesn't solve the problem of the discipline, or the lack of discipline. It doesn't do that. You know who does solve that problem? The Spirit of God. When you're reconciled to God through Christ, through faith in Him alone, you have a new heart. You have the mind of Christ. You desire the things of God. And so you also desire wisdom. And as imperfect as that might look in your life, there's the conviction of the Holy Spirit. It's the work of the Spirit of God in your life. And the Spirit of God convicts you for what? Your laziness.
Yeah.
For your lack of discipline. For your lack of self-control. Like, you get convicted of those things. And so, like, in reality, if you want people out of poverty and that kind of, like, drive to, like, just live under the government's money and not do anything, if you want to get them out of that, socialism is not going to solve the problem. More government help isn't going to solve the problem. The problem is the problem of the heart. It's a lack of discipline. It's sin, ultimately idolatry, all the rest with addiction. And so you need new hearts. It's only Christ that can solve this. It is Christ or chaos, period. And so you're not going to solve the problem she's aiming at by giving more money and creating the environment where the government basically hands this out and solves the problem of poverty. The problem of poverty is a problem of the heart and the mind. That's it. You know, and I can prove it too. How many people do you need presented before you who came to this country with nothing, with literally $20 in their pockets, and they become some of the most wealthiest and stars of our culture? I mean, you know who else? You know, just one story, just because it's just popped in my head. There's so many stories. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger comes to this country. He's got nothing. He comes with like a few dollars in his pocket, and he becomes one of the...
And some weights.
Yeah, exactly. He came with drive. He came with ambition. He came with a work ethic, clearly.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, look at the man's body in the 70s. He knows how to work, and he's willing to endure.
That wasn't an accident.
No, exactly. It didn't happen overnight. He didn't take a pill for that. He labored and hurt for that.
The government can't give you that.
Someone didn't give him those muscles.
Exactly. So the point is there's so many stories of people like that were poor, technically poor, but there was something different in them in terms of discipline, perseverance, the willingness to suffer, the desire to work and to labor, and they pulled themselves out of poverty, and they did it without the government's help. So how'd they do that? It's a heart issue. It's like it's a worldview issue. It's work ethic, and you're not going to solve the lack of work ethic in any community by handing them more money and giving stuff away to them for free. Didn't solve the problem.
Well, especially,
They need Jesus.
I mean, like you were talking about too, if the real issue is fatherlessness, there's a kind of work, like you require discipline and self-control to make money and not be starving, but the amount of work and discipline that it requires to be a father or a mother, even more so. And if you can't expect people to work hard daily in their vocation or for anything, then it's definitely not making it to parenting. And then, you just see just swaths of unwise people that are just figuring things out for themselves. And then you introduce public education, which teaches you a bunch of knowledge claims and no actual system to organize them in. And it's like, we got to stop it. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
Please stop.
It's in Berkeley, which
Right.
it's Berkeley. But
Berkeley.
Yeah.
Margaret Sanger. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, the last thing she said, I want to make sure we don't skip over, which is like the height of ignorance from her, is she's talking about humanity and dignity.
Right.
While she's talking about murdering
She
babies.
specifically says it next.
Yeah.
I think you had just ended right there.
Oh,
So.
did I? Okay.
But go ahead.
Let's play. Actually, make good point. I was hoping that we would catch that. I hope I didn't miss it.
Your way of thinking that happens when more black babies are aborted.
I love black people with the capacity for pregnancy. I think they have agency, they have intelligence, they know what is best for themselves, and I would love to create the conditions under which they can live lives that are filled with dignity and humanity.
And do you think
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
Dignity and what?
Humanity.
Humanity.
But only after being born.
Right? Like, why are you bringing it up? Why are you bringing up humanity as though that was something that was meaningful or significant in this debate? Humanity? Because if you really believe, I'm so glad you brought that up because I was like, I knew there was something we're missing here. The issue of humanity is the issue, right? You're talking about in the womb, from the moment of conception, fully human. Humanity. Right there at the moment of conception. So don't talk to us about dignity and humanity. Don't use those Christian words. Don't use that in order to propagate your system that says we should kill the babies and treat them with no dignity and treat them as though there is no humanity.
Because they're poor.
Well, and when we were talking about trans people, she was very concerned about death and people not feeling like they're seen as a human.
There's the borrowing again.
She's got baby phobia. I'm sure there's a term for that, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, transphobia, babyphobia, Christophobia.
I mean, she stood up and she championed for the trans community and said, you can't make people feel like they're not human. They'll want to take their own lives.
So, good point. So always point at the person's feet. Like, it's always important for us as Christians to look at our own feet, too. Like, really, like, let's not just place it on the professor from Berkeley. Let's say to Christians, it's always important for us to look at our own feet and say, like, am I being consistent with what I say I'm standing on, right? But Joy brings up a phenomenal point. In the last clip with the transphobia, and the issue there was she wants to pull on the heartstrings and use an emotional argument by saying you're gonna force people to kill themselves because you asked a question about whether women are the ones that actually can get pregnant. You're going to force people to kill themselves if you do this. What are you doing there? You're borrowing Christian capital as though like we should care about other human beings in that way. Like we should care about death in that way. So there's the borrowing once again, right? Like use the Christian worldview against the Christian worldview. And in this case, she's using terms like dignity and humanity. It's like, wait, no, that's mine. That's ours. You're borrowing from the Christian worldview. You don't get that. You already abandoned Christ. You don't get dignity and humanity as though that mattered at all because you're showing us that it doesn't matter at all because you think we should kill all the black babies because they're poor.
It's brephophobia, by the way, or infophobia.
Infophobia? It's a real word?
Yeah, brephophobia, which makes brephos is baby in Greek, I believe.
Ah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Brephophobia.
Brephophobia.
Try to say that 5 times fast.
Yeah. I'm gonna next time we're like talking to someone at the Mill or like LSU or something, we'll be like, you're brephophobic.
You're brephophobe. Brephophobe. That's
I'm using it.
You should use it. Try to memorize it.
I think a baby that is delivered alive has value.
Yes.
Listen to that long pause.
Yeah. She had to really
now,
think through that one.
For everyone watching live right now, if I asked you that question, right, believers love Jesus and love other image bearers of God. If I asked that question, how long would it take you to answer that question?
I would be answering it while you were asking.
Yes. Yes. No, and here I think we can all understand why, is that it should have an obvious answer to any human being. It should be immediately, yes, of course. But she has to think through it because she's wondering, am I going to say something that's going to indict me?
Yeah, exactly.
And so like, okay, after it's born, okay, let me think here. Is that going to indict me in any way? Okay, yes, I believe that. Like, why does it take you so long to answer that question?
It's too late. We already know. Just be honest.
Yeah, right. Why is it taking you so long to answer that question? Well, but we have to at least point out that, she is of the conviction that that baby has value when it's born. But let's point out over the last year, we've got 2 suggestions in 2 different states, California and Maryland, I believe, where they were arguing about legislation that would allow you to kill the baby up to 28 days or so after it's born. So maybe not so much, in their case, valuable when they're born. She thinks they are when they're born, at least. Okay. But not everyone believes that because not everyone holds to the dignity and humanity of other human beings. And so.
Well, and even in her previous statement, I think she would probably qualify that statement with as long as the capable person who is aborting them, like, as long as they want them.
As long as they want
that capable person with agency wants the baby, then yes, they have value. But she didn't. She kept it simple, as far as I know.
Yeah, and here's the next portion.
Else.
Yeah.
That a baby that is not yet born has value?
I believe that a person with a capacity for pregnancy has value. They have intelligence. They have agency. They
No,
have
I'm talking
dignity.
about the baby.
And I'm talking about the person with the capacity for
And
pregnancy.
you're not answering the question.
Oh,
I'm
just
asking.
I'm answering a more interesting
you think
question
that,
to
you
me.
think
Right there.
I'm answering a more interesting question to me.
I almost crashed when I heard that part because I was driving.
That's a part of that delusion.
Yeah.
That like I have no way to organize my knowledge claims, so I am just going to talk about what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't answer your question because it would indict me morally.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to say the woman is supreme in this case.
Yeah.
What's more interesting to me, again, that's not going to work in the court of law.
Right. I'm asking you a direct question under cross-examination. Yeah, but I don't really like that question.
Did you murder that person?
How about I answer another question?
She knows all about it.
That I
She's
find-
a lawyer. She knows all about not answering.
You
the
know, that
question.
is, Your Honor, that's a fantastic question. I'd actually like to answer a more interesting one to me. No, it doesn't work, and she's a professor at Berkeley. But what's interesting here is this is the key issue in saying, how do I take down this argument? When a person says that, look, this person, this woman in front of me, she is to be valued, right? Not the human being inside of her. I start asking the questions. Why? Why should I value this person? Why? And then you have to get them answering the question. Well, because it's a human being. Because she has bodily autonomy. Okay, I agree with both of those things. That's a human being, and the human beings are to have bodily autonomy. But here's the deal. If you make an argument about the value of a person, in this case, the pregnancy-capable person, if your argument is that they're human and they have bodily autonomy, then you just gave me the argument for abolition.
Yep.
Right? Because the argument for abolition is that's a human being in the womb, and that human being in the womb has bodily autonomy. Right? So if you like the bodily autonomy arguments, welcome to the pro-life, abolitionist, Christian movement. Like, that's our argument. Human beings are to be valued and given equal protection, and you cannot do things to their bodies apart from their will or consent. Right? And so you have to dissect the position they're standing on, push through the emotional arguments that are used to manipulate the audience when these debates go down. Because, again, bodily autonomy arguments are Christian arguments, and the problem is the body inside the mother's body is not her body. And so if you believe in bodily autonomy and you believe in the dignity of humanity and the value of humanity, then you have to say that we need to abolish abortion.
A baby that is not yet born, let's say the day before this mother delivers, do you think that baby has value?
I think that the person with the capacity for pregnancy has value, and they should have the ability to control what happens to their lives.
Well, and
Didn't answer. Once again.
Yep.
So she was honest, but there was a little bit of an omission. Like, she didn't answer the question fully.
can't.
But she was honest when she said, my concern is for the born person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I just note you refused to answer the question. Ms. Harrell,
So there you go. Professor of Berkeley, 2 important clips. I'm sure we could do this for days and dissect more details about them.
It just dawned on me. I thought it's hilarious how, it's the senators or whoever is I don't know if it's a senator or Congress that's asking the questions, and and while she's being questioned, she's like, I'd just like to note that blah blah blah, and it's like, no, you're not the one asking the question. You're not allowed to note anything. Like, just answer the question.
My time. Can't answer the question. And I guess one of the things that is important about a show like this and engaging with this is we hope to encourage, inspire other brothers and sisters in Christ to recognize that you have to start engaging this stuff in the public square, and you can. Their position is suspended on nothing, and it is inconsistent, it is incoherent, and we need to just start engaging. We as Christians have to actually engage in the public realm, in the public square against this stuff, and we have to speak the truth against it, because honestly, it's not that hard to do. And
Well,
an issue,
you just saw.
Yeah.
And he just was like, all right, I'll make a note that you didn't, my notes that count.
Right.
I'll make a note
Yeah.
that you refused to answer
Yeah.
the question.
Yeah, exactly. And so only the light of the gospel can dispel this darkness. And so we have to start preaching it. We have to start teaching it. We have to get away from the modern Christian in the West mindsets of like, let me just be liked. Let me just make friends. Let me try to make the life of Christ as attractive to others as I possibly can. I don't ever want to look like a meanie. I don't want to ever look confrontational. I just want to win people with my life. It's like, it's a given that the Christian life is supposed to be light to the world and we're not supposed to be hypocrites and all of that. That's just a given, right? That's like identifying I'm wearing a blue suit today. Okay, why are you stating the obvious? That's not the question. The question is, how do you win someone to Christ? And the answer from Scripture is it's the gospel, it's the power of God for salvation. And so if you don't proclaim the gospel to the world around you, it's just going to be overcome with darkness. You can't hide your light. We sang songs about that as young people in church. And, it might be a silly Christian song to some, but actually it's profound. It's very profound. And so we have to start preaching the gospel to the world. We have to do it without neutrality. And we've got to not link up with a Christless conservatism. Mm-hmm. We're not trying to make the world conservative in red states apart from Jesus Christ. We want people to know Jesus. We want this Berkeley professor to know Jesus. We want everyone to know Jesus. And the only way to do that is to call people to repentance and faith in Christ, to take down their arguments, every argument that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. We've got to take it down. And so we do shows like this, and we engage with this stuff, not simply to laugh at it. Some of it is funny. Some of it is just, stunning. But we do it to engage, to say, look, the Christian worldview can engage with this. The Christian worldview can take this down. So start going out and preaching the gospel. Do it with love, do it with grace, but do it. Do it sometimes with a serrated edge, because it sometimes needs it. Sometimes you need to ask if your God is on the toilet. That's a good question to ask sometimes. Yeah. It is biblical. So ApologiaStudios.com is where you guys go to get more. I want to announce that tickets are available for ReformCon 2022. It's ReformCon Christian Conference here in the Phoenix, Arizona area. Actually, it's being held in Mesa, right. It's 10 minutes from the airport, Phoenix. It's all the same. It's all the same. Phoenix Valley. So it's happening Reformation Day weekend this year here. Go to reformcon.org to get your tickets. We have limited seating, so you do need to get your tickets because when they run out, they run out. So get your tickets as soon as you possibly can at reformcon.org. We have amazing speakers. We have a great thing lined up for everyone with after party, with time to hang out and fellowship. We're going to have performances from some leaders in their fields, whether it's economics, whether it's education, whether it's sports, arts, all that stuff. James White, Dr. Joe Boot. We've got Toby Sumter. We've got David Bahnsen. It's an amazing lineup. You're going to get filled with truth. You're going to get encouraged, and you're going to spend a lot of time with Christians who are going to be basically sent out to fight for the gospel. And it's a Christian conference. We're trying to make it like no other, where you're going to just have a blast, a lot of fun. It's not just all talking, being talked to. It's going to be a lot of time of engagement and fun and fellowship. And so that's what's up. Get your tickets at reformcon.org. Don't forget to pray for endabortionnow.com. Sign up with your church to come out and save lives. We just saved a baby here in Phoenix yesterday or 2 days ago, and today that mother and father are coming in to meet with one of our pastors. Oh, no way. I missed that. Yeah, because they want to no longer kill the baby, but put it up for adoption. Oh, praise God. How you like that? Praise the Lord. So endabortionnow.com, your church can be involved in exactly the same thing. It's all free. We train you for free. We equip you for free. Go there, endabortionnow.com, to get involved. We've got stories happening constantly of what God does through these ministries. There's almost 900 churches globally who are doing all this work, and we have states that are coming. We're working on them right now with bills of abolition that we hope to have happening end of this year, beginning of next year. So pray for those, and if you can, please give at endabortionnow.com. We do need financial help to do this work. It does cost money to go to these states, to talk to these legislators, to get these things happening, to preach the gospel in conflict with abortion. So we need your help. We need your help to equip other churches. Go to endabortionnow.com and give. Please give there. Sign up. That's Luke the Bear. Peace out. That's Joy the Girl. See ya. I'm Jeff, the Coleman Ninja. We'll see you next week right here on Apologia Radio.